Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
And welcome back, everybody. We know that we're supposed to eat right. Question is, what exactly is right? How do you define that? We're going to try and work on that today. I promise you, we're not going to put you on a diet. That is the worst word that was ever created. The word die is within diet. Why do you even want to say that word? Just throw it away, get it out of here. Let's eat right. She's going to answer a lot of questions and get us on point when it comes to our nutrition. She's got a wonderful company that helps people with their nutrition and coaching all the time. She's Megan Spencer, and she joins us today. How you doing?
I'm doing really well, Steve. Thanks for having me.
I need you bad. I really do. I know that I don't eat right. I make attempts at eating right. I don't cook. Just saying that, and I'm sure I echo what a lot of other people say. And I buy prepared meals from a local place here. So I think I've taken a step in the right direction, but how do I know what I'm eating? They put a label on it and it's got, nutrition information, but really, where did that stuff come from? I don't know. I just assume it's better than what I was eating. What I'm saying is this kind of what people present you with when they first find you?
Yes, absolutely. I mean, people come with different concerns and lifestyles. There's some people who haven't made the step to these prepared meals and they're more eating in takeaway kind of options. There's some people who are cooking, but maybe following some recipes that are not the best for their needs. And some people who are just mostly skipping meals completely. So there is a really big range of what people come to me to get help with.
So before we get into types of nutrition plans and what we should be eating, all of that, what do you think about talking about our relationship with food? Because it's strong, right?
Absolutely. And I mean, I grew up, my parents are both chefs. I grew up helping in their restaurant. Like, food is so much more than just what we eat, it's an experience, it's a relationship. But we're also exposed to tons of marketing, like very good, powerful marketing that can steer us in the wrong direction. And we're not taught kind of how to do it at school. It's not included in standard curriculum and it just gets really confusing. So I completely understand when people take one of those, either experience or the nutrition side, a little bit extreme, but it's really about finding balance that works for you.
That's a great point about the marketing messages that we hear. I was having egg bites the other day, and I looked at the label and considerably high cholesterol, but that doesn't mean it's going to raise your cholesterol. But we've been programmed for that word from back in the day, and this is when you were young, that was like a big thing, like stay away from eggs, it's got cholesterol, bad. Blah, blah, blah." No, eggs are actually, in my opinion or understanding, not so bad for you. And, I don't know. Do you agree?
Yeah, no, I think as long as you like eggs and it fits within your kind of cultural beliefs, I think they're great, super easy, affordable protein, very flexible and dynamic too, how you can cook them, how you can
Yeah.
eat them. So, yeah, I think eggs are excellent. And yeah, they did have a negative campaign against them for the cholesterol. Your body produces its own cholesterol. So, it's not all dietary.
Full disclosure, Megan, I only started eating eggs, don't judge me, anybody, 2 years ago. I'm not even kidding. And I think it was, I had a block and I just didn't like them by themselves. It's just like, if you give me scrambled eggs, I'm like, ugh. But throw it in a breakfast burrito. Whoa. Or you, yeah, do something with it. It's great. And like you say, a lot of protein. Let's go. Can we talk about protein?
Yes, absolutely. What do you want to know?
How much should we have per day?
Okay, so this is going to depend a little bit per person. It's usually based off of your own weight. And I do have a guide, it's free, available on my website, and
Oh,
it
wow.
helps you calculate how much protein you should get based on your own weight and your lifestyle. I think it does get a little bit confusing when your average person considers themselves a professional athlete or a bodybuilder. So they go for the higher amounts of protein. When it comes to watching your weight and your overall nutrition, you have to know that those that's going to come with extra calories as well, which may fit or it may not.
Hmm.
But something to think about. I've got some recipes in there as well for people to try. I think what's important to make sure you feel good as well with the protein is balancing it throughout the day. So making sure you get enough at breakfast.
Yeah.
That means eating breakfast. It doesn't have to be eggs, but get something in. And then having protein as well for your other meals throughout the day.
That was my wake up call when I was in my upper 20s, low 30s, and knew nothing about protein, knew nothing about carbs, didn't pay attention to anything. And one day, and it's not about me, but I think there's information in stories. So I used to eat like a buttered roll in the morning. I worked very early hours for decades doing morning radio. Only stopped doing that like 4 years ago. And I would just eat carbs all day. And then one day in the evening, and I went to an Italian restaurant, had pasta, had dessert. Didn't even think, I didn't know anything about carbs. Went into the bathroom when I got home and passed out. And I believe it's because my blood sugar just, and I was, fine, but it was a wake up. And I went to a cardiologist then, and they said, yeah, we don't see anything. And a couple of days later, I went fishing with my friend, went to a convenience store and got just a big meaty sandwich, ate it. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I feel great. Whoa, what a difference. And that was my path to protein. So I always make sure that everything I eat has protein, and I eat, a decent amount, at least try like every 5 hours, just to, 4 to 5 hours, just to keep that, not that I'm hypoglycemic or any issues or whatever, but I just know if I don't have protein, I just start feeling like brain foggy and start, and maybe that's why it's so important. But it seems like there's been a new resurgence in protein or how much we should be eating, like in the last year or two.
Yeah, there's a cycle here. We had Atkins, so fat was the best, and then that went away, but then keto came back, which is kind of the same with a new name.
Mm,
Um, and then carnivore diet, it kind of, it goes back into the diets, and like you said, we don't need any more of those. We've been exposed to enough of it, and
yeah.
we need to be eating a variety. Like you said, a sandwich, you've got your carbohydrates, you've got your fats, you've got your protein. That really is, and unfortunately, sandwiches have had a bad rap at certain times, but really it is like a whole food in terms of how balanced it is.
Yeah. Yeah. It really is. As long as, don't overdo it. You can get the 6 foot, not the foot long, sub and all of that, but we're, I believe, a society that's programmed to, if it's there, eat it. I go to a restaurant, portions are huge. Take it home. It's okay. That could be two, maybe three meals. What do you want people to know about nutrition when you're coaching and you come up with a plan for somebody? What's the most important thing for us to know?
I think the most important thing is choosing what is sustainable and reasonable for you. Even if it's not a huge change, but if you make that same change every day for a year, that's going to have way better impact on your health and your overall goals than doing something drastic for a couple weeks and then quitting. So
Mm,
really being honest with yourself about, if it needs to be meals that are pre-made by somebody else, that can be the solution. You just have to pick something you can stick with. Be,
mm.
realistic with yourself. Like, um, I always tell people not to wait for New Year's to change your habits. Like, you don't need an arbitrary day to change. If you're motivated now, even a little bit, just start. Just start
Mm.
now.
What'd you have for breakfast?
Oh my gosh. Well, it's gonna sound very
You tell me, I'll tell you, and then you can beat
no,
me
it's
up.
it's not gonna sound very cool. But I had oatmeal for breakfast. That's what I usually eat. I put Greek yogurt and peanut butter and maple syrup in it.
Ooh.
And yeah, it's got some protein, it's got um lots of fiber, and I find that that's really helpful, especially if I'm, traveling, and that just kind of covers me for the day and makes me full until lunch.
Wow. Okay. So my daughter is 16 and recently she started eating oatmeal out of nowhere. And then that's in the cabinet. So I tried it. It reminded me, being younger. I'm like, whoa, that's actually pretty good. I didn't think of the Greek yogurt. What was the other thing you put in there?
Peanut butter and maple syrup.
You just put the peanut butter. Do you mix it all together?
I do. I mean, you can adjust how much water you put or if you add milk, but it's thick. I like my oatmeal thick.
I got you on that. Um, you just illustrated how fun nutrition can be. No, seriously. I'm all about that. I think I'm going to have that tomorrow morning. I'm not even kidding. What did I have? And I, I eat the same thing for breakfast every day. I'll change it up maybe once in 2 weeks, maybe 3 times in 2 weeks, whatever. Um, 4 turkey meatballs, a dollop of marinara sauce, throw some garlic on there, garlic powder, a couple of spices, microwave it for a minute, and I'll have half of an English muffin with just a tiny bit of butter, and that's my carbs. And then, I'll have some tea, and that's breakfast. Yours is much,
Interesting. That is not your standard breakfast,
but I
but
know I'm
why not?
getting, I know I'm getting protein. Turkey meatballs, lower in fat, could have more protein. It's probably floating around, I don't know, maybe 16 grams. It's all right. Um, I don't overdo the carbs. I could have a full English muffin, but I don't need it. I'm full and I'm good for, a while. Yours is much more fun.
Mine and I know you said tea, but I'm kind of a coffee snob, so I make
Oh,
my
okay.
own.
I'm going to jump in right there and coffee snob. I don't even know what you're talking about right over here. Um, I had some digestion issues, which is a whole nother topic last fall. So I tried to cut back on too much coffee, and I always do decaf. That's just me.
Mm.
And I pivoted over to tea. And I remember my grandmother used to drink tea, and I'm like, "Ugh, it's disgusting." Now that I got back into it, I'm like, oh, this is pretty cool. There's a lot of variety. I don't add milk to it. I just like the flavor of it. But I got turned back onto it. So yeah, but there's a whole bunch of coffee sitting right next to the Keurig machine where the tea gets made. But yeah, coffee's okay for you.
Yeah, no, I like coffee and the way, I mean, if you like it, that's kind of how I try to make everything. If it's something you love, don't give it up. Just find a way to make it work. So I was mentioning the coffee because I make a latte. So that milk also contributes to my protein intake. So
Hmm.
it adds up, in all these little places. But what really helps with the oatmeal is the fiber. So your
Yeah,
fiber and protein really work together. Um, to make you feel full for longer and kind of balance out those blood sugars and overall just keep you full. And it helps my clients, if you're full, then you're not craving whatever the donut is on the way into work, those kinds of
sure.
things.
Sure. And if I remember correctly, the American Heart Association identified that eating oatmeal is actually good for your heart. So there's, the other plus right there. Wow. Um, Tell me about your program. Like I know you have different ones. How do you custom design them for somebody's likes? Because, let's say you don't like seafood. That would be me. Uh, you got to how that out. I know I should be eating it, had a bad experience, and I just never went back. I'll eat some fried calamar. I know it's not good, but that's about the how deep I go. But how do you design something for somebody that they're going to like?
Yes. So, I mean, when I'm working one on one with clients, that's when I customize things. And I always start out by understanding what their current life looks like. So that helps me see what commonly pops up, even though their sleeping habits are like, how often are they eating, how are they feeling when they're eating? Do they eat alone? Do they eat with other people? Is it a social thing? From there, I can learn a lot, and then we go back and forth in the conversation. I mean, we meet weekly, so I really get to know my clients when we're working together. And if something doesn't work, I just adjust it because it's all foods are going to fit. You just have to figure out a way to make it work, and that's what we do. So I use something called healthy habits. So instead of making a bunch of rules, we try to implement these healthy habits over time until they become just a habit. You don't even have to think about it anymore.
To your point, I guess me and my love of protein has become a habit. I don't even think about it. I include it in my meal, and that's it. Um, Another habit, I have not touched a salt shaker since I was a kid. I'm not healthy. I mean, I'm telling you right now, I'm not, don't get any, I just don't need it anymore. My father told me, why are you putting salt? Everything has salt. And I just never touched it. So I don't need it. Same thing with sugar. I've never put sugar in something since I was a kid. I ate horribly as a kid. Like all I ate was hot dogs, bologna, any, packaged Hostess foods, and milk. And that was my diet as a kid. But
Yeah,
once you
they're
create
coming with their own salt and sugar, so you don't need to add any more.
100%, but it's a habit. Like my habit is no salt. Some people could have a habit and use salt, but it's a great point you bring up, and it takes time for it. Habits aren't built overnight. As I understand it, minimum of like 3, 4 weeks, sometimes 6 weeks, sometimes more to create a healthy habit, right?
Yes, and a lot of times the clients I'm working with, they don't necessarily know whether some of their habits are helping them to reach their goals or if they might be hindering them. So
Sure.
that's kind of what we learn when I do my sessions with them, as well as just covering kind of general nutrition topics. And then we also talk about relationship with food. And in my longer program, we talk about some emotion, like intuitive eating and really getting back into listening to your body and the cues that your body sends
Hmm.
for hunger, fullness that we've essentially trained ourselves to ignore.
Let's talk about that. I love the topic of intuition. I believe that you need an answer. Your body, you have the answer, not just your body, but you have the answer to anything that you're looking for. We just can't hear it because we've got our devices, we've got distractions, we got our kids, everything all going on here. Um, Tell me about intuitive eating. Let's go deeper.
Yes, yes. So intuitive eating is a practice. It's a little bit more on the psychology side than the nutrition side, but
Sure.
they do go together. And people like humans are born intuitive. So your small child, your baby will know when they're full and they will stop eating. You said you have a daughter. I have a toddler right now. Sometimes she has a huge lunch and doesn't want anything for dinner. Some days she eats a lot, some days she doesn't, and that's it. You can't convince her otherwise. She's very stubborn. And over time, as we grow, we learn otherwise. Sometimes it's from influences, you have to finish your plate before you can leave the table. Sometimes it's
Uh,
because a food might be very sweet, very salty, very fatty, and it triggers different hormones in our brain that make us want more, but cover up the hormone triggers we're getting from our stomach that are telling us we're full. And so, dopamine might be louder and we're missing those signals. So just getting back to understanding that and breaking it down with my clients so that it's something they can understand. What does this actually feel like? What are the symptoms? And I find most of my clients don't know what hunger is anymore. They haven't felt hungry and they're always full.
hmm. I've, and this is not a nutrition side, but this is talking to people who are intuitive by trade. That they practice intuition. It could be intuitive life coach, whatever it might be. And as an exercise, you listen to what you want for dinner. Really listen to what's coming within. Do I want Italian tonight? Do I want Chinese? What do I really want? I'm going to go deep in my thought. What's coming up for me? And that will be the answer. That's what your body is asking for at that time. Using your intuition, you're tapping into what your body's trying to tell you, but it's not easy. It's not easy to hear it.
Exactly. And better understanding as well. Like, okay, well, my body's telling me I want chips. Why do I want chips? Is
Right.
it because, I just saw an advertisement? Is it because I'm physically hungry and that's what I have? Is it a crunchy kind of like I feel like I need that texture?
Salt,
Um,
sodium. Yeah.
it could be the salt. Is it because I had chips every day for the last 5 days? So now I'm creating a habit to want chips every day. So getting really deep into that and helping kind of change those habits to switch around towards something that's going to help them reach their goals.
Wow. You have lots of programs on your website, and you're offering a special, I think.
Yes. So if you visit the services page on my website, you can learn about Nutrition On Point. That is a 3-month meal plan. So you get 5 days of meal plans, grocery list, all the recipes. These are good, tasty recipes. I get very good feedback on them. It is not just me saying that as a nutritionist. And that one you can get 10% off using the code podcast10. As well as there's a mini nutrition assessment on there. It's been on pause, but I'm going to reactivate it so that if you're wanting some nutritionist advice from me, I can do that for you remotely. And that will be available as of today.
Hmm. So the Healthy on Point or Nutrition on Point
Mhm.
is you're creating a meal plan, right?
So the meal plan exists. I will say it's not custom. So I've built it to be balanced and delicious. There's also options in there too. Like if you feel hungry, you should eat. You should have a larger portion, those kinds of things.
Gotcha.
You can adjust it from there.
Got it. If Steve doesn't cook, would I still be able to navigate? I mean, I can figure some stuff out, but I just don't have the patience. I don't know what it is. Is it still doable?
I mean, it depends what Steve doesn't cook is like. There's sandwich on the recipe, in the meal plan.
Sure, sure.
But there's also, I know you said you don't really like seafood. There's like a pan salmon. So you just put it in the oven, it cooks. But, it'll, I recommend people try everything, find the ones you like, and keep using those ones. You don't have to like everything on the meal plan. But if you can find, a couple breakfasts, a couple lunches, a couple dinners you
Oh
really
yeah.
like, then uh, those are really going to improve the nutrition quality of your overall eating.
And compared to like I buy the prepared meals, I won't even tell you what they cost. This is well worth it. I even just got a tip for breakfast from you just, before with the oatmeal and the Greek yogurt and peanut butter. The that sealed the deal for me. The rest would be fine. And then maple syrup you throw in there just for flavor, I guess. It's like sounds like
Yeah, a little
magic.
Canadian touch.
Oh, magic,
Yes,
magic. Real quick, your nutrition coaching, how does that work?
yes, yes. So with nutrition coaching, if anybody's interested, you can book a free consultation for that. We'll meet, make sure we're a good match. I'll find out what your goals are. We'll do some goal setting. And then, like I said, I always assess what your nutrition looks like. So you'll have a little bit of homework. And then we'll meet weekly from there. I have a 4-week program and a 9-week program. And the 4-week program I also offer for couples. So if you feel this is something you'd like to do with your partner, that is something that I have available as well.
Wow. Okay, so how do you determine how many weeks you need? Like, you have one, it's a, yeah, a 4-week program. Um, is that really just to get you back on track of or on track for the first time what you should be eating?
Yes. So the 4-week program is really like a hard launch. It's a little bit more intense because of the time frame being shorter. Um, it doesn't cover, like, we don't go into the intuitive eating
Sure.
and but really, if you just need to better understand which direction to go, once you have the guidance, you feel confident that you can do that without as much accountability. It's great. It's obviously costs less, and people find that as a great entryway. From there, maybe you do the meal plan. Or if you want to add on, I do have that option as well. I don't leave anybody hanging if you still need support.
Gotcha. Um, Wonderful. Thank you for today. All the insight. What's your website?
Slimnutritioncoaching.com.
And Slim spelled just like it sounds.
Yes, SLIM and then nutritioncoaching.com.
Thank you for all the insight. And you are just so easy to talk to and plugged in with everything. I find it fascinating that your parents owned a restaurant, and I guess that there began your relationship with food.
Absolutely. Yep.
Yep, interesting. Megan, thanks so much, and looking forward next time we get together.
Thank you, Steve.
Are you looking for even more of the podcasts and hosts that you love? The Podcast Business News Network is proud to announce that you now have even more ways to listen live. Check out the MyTuner Radio, online radio box, and Simple Radio apps on iOS and Android, or find us online. Search for Business News Network on mytuner-radio.com, or search Podcast Business News Network on streama.com and onlineradiobox.com/US. Take your podcast on the go and don't miss a minute of the action.
Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
For nearly 2,000 severely injured veterans, everyday life has become filled with barriers.
Day-to-day simple tasks can become pretty daunting.
I have to carry my chair up 2 flights of steps or have somebody do it for me.
What scares me the most is just the falling.
When I'm struggling with my house, I think, to have that one great barrier just knocked down, it's crucial.
Home for Our Troops is a wonderful nonprofit that builds a
Mortgage-free, fully adaptive, handicap-accessible house. And there's no catch.
It'll be our very first home that we've ever owned. This is a game changer.
This is where your life begins again.
We need you to join us in completing this important mission. Please visit hfotusa.org and help build homes and rebuild lives.
Because of you, everything's going to be okay.